Hello everyone. Today I have in my hands the new Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. And today I will cover a few talking points and features of the smartphone. But I won't get into anything in depth as I will leave that for later videos. So let's get started with the design of the S9 Plus. This year's model follows last year's Galaxy S8 Plus design cues, but adds a few necessary refinements that addresses several ergonomic and structural issues. The Galaxy S9 Plus still features a 6.2-inch curved edge-to-edge display, or what Samsung likes to call it, the Infinity Display. It still features a bezel-less design with no hardware buttons. In fact, the only hardware buttons is the power button on the right-hand side and the volume rocker and the dedicated Bixby button on the left-hand side. The phone still incorporates Gorilla Glass on the front and on the back side. And sandwiched in between is the aluminum chassis. One thing to note about the Galaxy S9 Plus compared to the Galaxy S8 Plus is that the phone is slightly larger, but slightly shorter, and a little bit heavier than the S8 Plus. Samsung states that the increase in bulk comes from substantial improvements to durability, where there's a stiffer aluminum chassis and thicker glass on the display for a 20% greater drop protection. The Galaxy S9 Plus retains what Samsung likes to call Galaxy foundational favorites, such as the IP68 water and dust resistance rating. If you may recall, that means the phone can be submerged in up to 5 feet of fresh water for up to 30 minutes. Another Galaxy foundation is the phone's expandable storage, located on the top left and is paired with the SIM card tray, and can now fit a micro SD card of up to 400 gigabytes, up from the 256 gigabyte max in the S8 Plus. A third foundation is the retention of the phone's fast wireless charging capabilities, which can charge the phone faster than some competitors' charging solution. Also, a fourth foundation is the heart rate monitor, located on the back. The monitor underwent some improvements with the inclusion of an optical sensor, which can now monitor your blood pressure, as well as your heart rate, your stress levels, and more, all through the Samsung Health app. Another Galaxy foundational favorites is the biometrics. This went under some improvements also. Most notably is the fingerprint sensor, which is now located on the bottom, centrally, on the bottom of the camera and located centrally for easier access. The Galaxy S9 Plus still features the iris and facial recognition scanner along the top. The improvements of these two scanners is what Samsung calls Fusion Biometrics or Intelligent Scan. This lets the user be able to switch from facial recognition and iris scanning to improve speed, reliability, and works better in low light. To round out the bottom of the design of the S9 Plus is the headphone jack to the left, the USB-C port in the middle, the microphone, and also the inclusion of dual stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support, which I hope becomes a Galaxy Foundation mainstay because it's a great addition to the S9 Plus. Finally, to wrap up the design portion, in the US market, the S9 Plus will come in colors of lilac purple, coral blue, and the midnight black, like the one I have here. So let's move on to display. Every year, Samsung sets a new standard, and this year is no different. As mentioned earlier, the screen size of the S9 Plus is 6.2 inches. That is a Quad HD Super AMOLED display with 18:9 aspect ratio. Improvements come in the form of 20% increase in brightness, increase in color accuracy, the lowest mobile screen reference ever recorded, and an OLED display that barely has any color shift when tilted at 30 degrees. To quote a specialist reviewer over at DisplayMate, the Galaxy S9 display is virtually indistinguishable from perfect. Enough said about that. Let's move on and take a look under the hood and examine performance and battery. The tech spec for the US version of the S9 Plus has a faster Snapdragon 845 octa-core chipset. Running at 2.7 quad-core and 1.7 quad-core with an Adreno 630 graphics processor. This is an improvement over the S8 Plus's Snapdragon 835 and Adreno 540. What this all translates to is a 20% boost in performance and 30% boost in efficiency, which helps in the S9 Plus's 3500 milliamp hours battery life. One thing worth noting is the boost in the S9 Plus cellular performance as well. 1200 megabits per second download speeds and 200 megabits per second upload speeds versus 1024 megabits download speeds and 150 megabits upload speeds. Elsewhere, Wi-Fi 802.11 AC and Bluetooth 5.0 remains unchanged. Onboard storage for the S9 Plus is 64 gigabytes, and the S9 Plus version comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM. Where the regular S9 still has 4 gigabytes. The higher RAM in the S9 is to primarily power the dual cameras and aids in multitasking. Speaking of the camera, this is probably the biggest improvement Samsung made to the phone. The Galaxy S9 Plus comes with the 12 megapixel dual aperture dual camera that both have dual optical image stabilization. Along with these improvements, the camera sensor is 4 times more powerful, which leads to better performance. The dual aperture has f-numbers of 1.5 to let in the most light, and 2.4 to restrict light. This basically translates into the camera taking the best possible picture no matter what lighting condition the user is in. So when you are outside with plenty of light, the camera will automatically default to the 2.4 aperture spectrum. And when inside, with low light, it will switch to 1.5 aperture. Now this is a hardware upgrade that is seen in DSLR cameras. It is not a software tweak. To illustrate what I mean, I could switch between apertures and you could actually see the camera lens move. Let me show you. So you can see right there the camera lens moving back and forth. 1.5, 2.4, 1.5, 2.4. Moving along to the dual cameras, the Galaxy S9 Plus has a 12 megapixel camera and it is paired with a 12 megapixel telephoto camera. The benefit of having the telephoto is that the user has a 2x optical zoom. Anything closer than that, then the software zoom takes over. Samsung calls it clear zoom. Clear zoom may not be as good as the optical zoom, but it is far better than some of the competitors. Let me show you just how good the optical zoom and the clear zoom is. So we have right here, place it over there, and then let me zoom in. So you can see at the bottom, that's 2 times. And then if I zoom in closer, let's say at 5x, that's the clear zoom. As you can see, that's still clear. So in addition, when the two cameras work together, they enable a feature called live focus. This is an effect where the user can blur the background and focus on the subject to make it stand out for a professional looking photo. To note, background blur can be applied during or after the photo is taken using live focus. Also, both cameras, as well as the front-facing camera, has optical image stabilization, so pictures come out clear with less blur. Now, some other features of the camera I want to mention are super slow-mo. This lets the user record an 8-second video clip in 960 frames per second versus the standard 240 frames per second. I have a sample video here I want to show you of super slow-mo. Pretty epic, right? I think so. Finally, the user can create, using the front-facing camera, something called augmented reality avatar of themselves that Samsung calls AR emojis. They can then use the custom emoji with some preset action to send in text messages and other third-party messaging apps. You could go over to stickers and I have some preset avatars already made, but I will go into that on another video. Samsung also made improvements to Bixby, its artificial intelligence voice assistant. These improvements are mostly in Bixby Vision. It works in conjunction with the camera to let users do things such as live translate, where you just point the camera at some text and will instantly translate it into the language you choose right on the screen, like so. It also lets you view places without opening Google Maps. As you can see right here on the bottom right hand is a radar, and when points of interest show up, it will pop up as little dots on the radar, and then you just move your phone around and it will show these points of interest on the screen of the phone. You could also get information by pointing the camera at different objects, and it will give you more information on it. You could point it at food, and you could also point it at wine labels. It scans QR codes, and finally it also does makeup. So now you could choose something like what type of lipstick you want, the color, and then on the top right corner right here, it will show you what type and what brand, and maybe later on where you could buy it. Some other features to mention is fast app pair for better multitasking. The user could quickly pair two apps together in split screen and create a shortcut for the pair on the home screen, like so, like I already have here. YouTube and my web browser. Also, the screen pairing works in landscape mode, like so. Next, an important app feature to mention is the SmartThings app. The reason for this is that moving forward, this app, SmartThings, will let the user control everything in the Samsung ecosystem. Whether it be a Samsung Smart TV, a smart fridge, smart washer and dryer, this app is the one to control all. Finally, the Galaxy S9 Plus will ship with Android 8.0 out of the box. So to conclude this video, who is the target market demographics for the Galaxy S9 Plus? Samsung has stated it is geared towards millennials, women, and anyone who spends a lot of time on social media. But it can be for owners of the Galaxy S6 or S7 who did not upgrade to the S8 Plus and are waiting for what Samsung has to offer in the S9 Plus. In general, the Galaxy S9 Plus is for anyone who wants a high-performance phone with a great big screen and a phenomenal camera. Well, that's about wraps it up for my overview of the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. I hope you found it to be informative, and I would like to thank you for taking the time to view this video. Bye and take care.